Old houses are not just structures of wood and brick, they are containers of time. Within their walls and beneath their floors lie the quiet, forgotten echoes of previous lives, previous technologies, and previous eras. Most of these secrets remain dormant, sealed away by plaster and modernization. But every now and then, a new owner, driven by the desire to renovate, pulls a loose thread. They lift a floorboard, they tap on a hollow wall, or they question a strange feature on an old floor plan, and in doing so, they accidentally unlock a door to the past. For one man in the United Kingdom, a simple home improvement project would lead him to a discovery so vast and unexpected it would feel as if he had found a secret level to reality, a forgotten world lurking just inches beneath his feet. Our story begins in 2021 in the historic city of Brighton, England. The protagonist, a man named Tom, had recently purchased what he considered his dream home. It was a terraced house built in the Victorian era, a period of immense growth and architectural change in Britain. Like many houses of its kind, it was full of character-high ceilings, original fireplaces, and the charming imperfections that come with a structure that has stood for over a century. Tom wasn't a property developer looking for a quick profit. He was a history enthusiast, a man who chose this house specifically because he felt a connection to its past. He wanted to restore it, to peel back the layers of modern paint and cheap renovations to reveal the home's original soul. To truly understand the discovery Tom was about to make, one must first understand the world in which his house was built. The Victorian era, spanning from the mid-1800s to the turn of the 20th century, was a time of rigid social hierarchy. This hierarchy was literally built into the architecture of middle and upper-class homes. Houses were designed with two separate worlds in mind: the world of the family, which was visible and ornate, and the world of the servants, which was hidden and functional. An intricate network of back staircases, service corridors, and basement-level kitchens allowed staff to run the household almost invisibly, without disturbing the family living in the grand rooms above. One of the most critical elements of this hidden world was the delivery and storage of coal, the lifeblood of the Victorian home, which was used for both heating and cooking. Massive quantities of coal were required daily. To facilitate this, many homes were built with coal cellars and vaults extending out beneath the street. A small hole on the pavement, covered by a metal plate, would allow coal merchants to pour fuel directly into the cellar, where a servant would then manage its storage and distribution throughout the house. Over the decades, as central heating replaced coal fires, these subterranean spaces lost their purpose. They were sealed off, bricked up, and eventually forgotten entirely by subsequent generations of homeowners. They became silent, dark voids beneath the bustling modern streets, their existence erased from memory and property deeds, waiting patiently in the darkness to be found. It was one such forgotten space that Tom was about to stumble upon. Tom's project began in the hallway of his new home. He was planning to replace the flooring and, as part of the preparation, was examining the original floor plans he had acquired. He noticed something unusual. The plans indicated a small, square outline near the front of the house that didn't correspond to any room or feature he could see. It was marked simply as a void. His initial thought was that it was an error on the old drawings, a feature that was planned but never built. Still, his curiosity was piqued. The area on the floor plan corresponded to a spot in his entryway. He got down on his hands and knees, tapping the floorboards. Most sounded solid, but in one specific spot, the sound was different. It was hollow. He worked for over an hour, carefully prying up the old wooden floorboards with a crowbar. Beneath them, he found not soil or foundation, but a solid layer of concrete. It seemed his investigation had hit a dead end. But then he saw it. Set into the center of the concrete was a circular cast-iron manhole cover, rusted shut with age. It was a feature so strange, so out of place inside a residential hallway, that he knew it had to be the entrance to the void on the floor plans. A wave of excitement and trepidation washed over him. What was this? A well? A sewer access point? Or something else entirely? He called a friend over to help, and together, using the crowbar and a hammer, they worked to break the seal of rust and time. With a final, groaning screech of metal on concrete, the heavy iron lid broke free. They lifted it away and peered down into the opening. A rush of cold, damp air, thick with the smell of wet earth and centuries of stillness, rose to meet them. Below was not a narrow pipe or a well, but the top of a wooden ladder. descending into a darkness so absolute it seemed to swallow the beam of their flashlights. The air was heavy with mystery. This was not a utility access point. This was an entrance to somewhere that had been deliberately sealed and forgotten. With his heart pounding a steady rhythm of anticipation, Tom checked the stability of the old wooden ladder. It felt surprisingly firm. He aimed his flashlight down into the abyss, the beam cutting a sharp, lonely cone through the oppressive blackness, revealing nothing but the first few rungs and the top of a packed earth floor about 12 feet below. After a brief discussion, it was decided. He had to go down. He clipped a more powerful flashlight to his belt, took a deep breath of the stale, musty air, and began his cautious descent into the unknown. Each rung of the ladder was cold and damp to the touch, and the only sounds were his own careful movements and the anxious breathing of his friend from the opening above. When his boots finally touched the solid ground, he swept his light around the space. The initial chamber was small and unremarkable, a simple brick-lined square, roughly 10 feet by 10 feet. For a moment, a flicker of disappointment struck him. Was this it? Just a small, empty storage pit? But as his eyes adjusted, he noticed that one of the brick walls was not like the others. It had a low, arched opening, a dark maw that suggested the space continued further. He ducked his head and stepped through the archway, and it was in that moment that the true scale of his discovery began to reveal itself. The small, square chamber was merely an antechamber, an entrance to a much larger and more complex system of vaults. He found himself in a long, barrel-vaulted cellar that stretched forward into the darkness, far beyond the footprint of his own house. The brickwork was expert, a testament to the skill of its Victorian builders. As he walked, his footsteps echoing in the profound silence, he saw more arched openings branching off to the sides, leading to other, smaller vaults and alcoves. This wasn't a cellar. It was a catacomb. As his exploration continued, he began to find artifacts, time capsules left behind by the last people to walk these tunnels over a century ago. In one corner, he found a small pile of shattered pottery and several intact glass bottles, embossed with the names of long-gone local dairies and apothecaries. In another section, tucked into a recess in the wall, was a rusted iron shovel and the petrified remains of a wooden bucket, its staves fallen into a neat circle on the floor. The most poignant discovery came when he found a small, sheltered alcove that seemed to have been used as a makeshift break area. There, on a dusty ledge, lay a clay pipe and a scattering of newspaper fragments. He carefully picked one up. The paper was brittle, but the headline was still faintly legible, dated 1905. He was holding a piece of history, a direct physical link to the workmen who had last toiled in this forgotten space, their world now nothing more than a ghost in the darkness beneath his feet. The full significance of the discovery became clear when he reached what he thought was the end of the main tunnel. It terminated in a solid brick wall, but set within it was the distinct outline of a sealed doorway. He ran his hand over the rough bricks, realizing with a jolt that this doorway would have led directly into the cellar of the neighboring house. This wasn't just his cellar. It was part of an enormous, interconnected subterranean network that ran the length of the street, a hidden service highway for the entire block. Each house on the terrace had its own private access, but they were all linked by this shared underground world, a fact completely unknown to the modern residents living just a few feet above. Realizing he was out of his depth, Tom contacted a local architectural historian. The expert's excitement was palpable. After a careful inspection, he confirmed Tom's suspicions and filled in the missing pieces of the puzzle. The tunnels were indeed the original Victorian coal cellars and servant passages for the entire terrace. He explained how coal would have been delivered through chutes from the street and how servants would have used these interconnected tunnels to move between houses or access different service areas without ever having to appear on the main street level. He explained that with the rise of modern gas and electric heating in the mid-20th century, the entire system became obsolete. One by one, the entrances were concreted over, the doorways bricked up, and this once vital piece of the city's infrastructure was simply abandoned and erased from memory. The story of Tom's discovery was quickly picked up by local news outlets, and it fascinated the community. He became the accidental custodian of a piece of his city's buried history, offering tours to curious neighbors and historians. People who had walked the same street for decades were stunned to learn of the intricate world that lay hidden just beneath the pavement. The discovery sparked a renewed interest in the city's Victorian past, with other residents on the street now tapping their own floors, wondering if they too were living on top of a forgotten piece of history. Tom's plan to renovate his hallway had turned into a full-blown archaeological excavation. His house was no longer just a home, it was a time capsule. His simple curiosity had peeled back more than just floorboards. It had peeled back a layer of time itself, revealing the complex, hidden machinery of a bygone era. The story serves as a powerful reminder that history is not a distant country. It is all around us, buried just beneath the surface of our modern lives, waiting in the silent darkness for a loose stone or a curious hand to let the light back in.